So many big stories this week, but so much happening out west and speculation about who's going to be West Coast next senior coach. You've got some interesting details about an intriguing coffee catch.
Yeah, so before Adam Simpson parted ways with West Coast, of course, throughout the week or yesterday, Dean Cox was spotted having a coffee with West Coast CEO Don Pyke last Sunday. So before they made that big decision and Adam Simpson left the footy club, Pyke and Coxie caught up, I think, at Albert Park Cafe for a little coffee. Yeah, I think Brett Kirk was there as well. So Pyke and Coxie know each other because they were both assistant coaches at Sydney. So they do have a really good relationship. Now, I've done some digging and I am told, Scotty, that they weren't talking about the West Coast vacancy. They weren't. Don't be jumping to any conclusions that they're just mates and talking about football generally, how they were all going. I think with Kirky there, it's a bit hard to sort of go. Potentially,
Kirky had to go put money in the meter, and while he did that, they said,
by the way, what are you doing Wednesday?
We're going to tiptoe your mate. You're in.
It is an interesting little catch-up, so we'll watch with interest. They are clearly very tight.
Well, what's the process? Clubs like a long process. What are we looking at for the West Coast Eagles?
I think the pre-finals bye is going to be a really interesting period in the lead-up to finals, of course, because there's 7 rounds left in the home and away season. I think West Coast has got to get its ducks in a row over the next 3 to 4 weeks, make up a bit of a short list and then potentially get some of these applicants in to speak to them in that pre-finals bye, because that's when the assistants or potential candidates, potential replacements get a bit of downtime. They've got to put together their PowerPoint presentations, etc. Maybe West Coast can get a replacement by mid-September. They want to be in place before we get anywhere near trade period, because we know with the state of West Coast,
they've got a bit of work to do.
They've got a lot of work to do. So someone needs the overalls on before they get anywhere near October. So it's an important period. Keep your eye on the pre-finals bye.
What's the update on the contenders now that the news has hit, the dust has settled a little bit? What's the goss?
Now, the Coxie and Pyke catching up for coffee. I think Dean Cox is the front runner, as we spoke about last night. Ready-made, according to Steve Johnson, who worked with him. I think these Ashley Hansen, so highly rated, of course, at Carlton. He was the right-hand man of Luke Beveridge in 2016. Coached his own team, Footscray, to the premiership. So he ticks every box. He's ready, Ash Hansen. Jamie Graham, also so highly rated in the West. Daniel Jan Syracuse at Essendon, of course. The really interesting one for me is Josh Carr, because he's the wild card in this race. Because like Dean Cox at Sydney, who's tipped to be the successor, or was tipped to be the successor for John Longmire, Josh Carr's sitting one out, one back for Ken Hinkley at Port Adelaide.
There's a couple there, like Dean Cox as well. There's a couple of one out, one back.
So if West Coast say, Josh, do you want to come talk to us? Carr's got to go through the process.
Of course he does.
Does that make Port Adelaide jumpy, fellas? If they potentially lose their man?
Pulling the trigger.
Because Port Adelaide have denied there's any formal succession plan, right? Oh, they're with Josh Carr. But what if West Coast dangle the carrot?
Now, Joe, you've buried the lead on that list. There's a name at the bottom that's just sort of snuck up on us. N. Buckley, media.
Yes, well,
media.
He's very capable. We've talked about him in Tasmania, of course. However, whether he wants to move to the western side of the country, I'm not sure. But it'll be interesting to watch over the next month or two. Dean Cox, certainly the favourite. Into some CEOs about some upcoming engagements. Scotty, there's some frustration. What's the go?
Well, we all love a junket and we all like a trip over to
You've done the most out of all of us.
You're about to go on one.
Work. But the CEO's meeting is in Perth next week because Don Pyke, toys out of the cot, wasn't happy, winched to the AFL, said, you keep forgetting us over here in the West. So the AFL's gone, OK, we'll all trump all the way over there. Everyone's got to get over there to have this conference. A few of them are asking questions. Why? You know, all part of the competitive balancing that we've had on this show many times. So Don Pyke, whinging,
got his way.
All the CEOs to Perth next week.
Love that.
And the AFL executive.
Get down to Margaret River. It's beautiful down there.